Hello Funkers, Tony Funk here, back at it again with another Tony short for y'alls. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite anime. Now it's no secret that I am a huge Dragon Ball fan. However, I am not one of those people who thinks that Dragon Ball is perfect. I think all Dragon Ball fans kind of admit that Dragon Ball is not without its faults, and big faults at that. And well, now that Dragon Ball Super Hero is coming out, and we are hearing rumors that the Granolah Arc is nearing its conclusion. Now I'm very skeptical and apprehensive if whether or not this arc is going to be a good one. But if this arc is, near its conclusion and if it's almost going to end, then that paints really bad news for what this arc is going to ultimately be, what it's going to become. So let me kind of just explain to you guys why this arc is so concerning to me and why I think this arc has the potential to be shit. Okay, alright, as you guys can see right here in the top left corner of the screen, that is OG73. Now OG73 kicks off this arc. We see his like half destroyed head right after the Moro arc. It's the Granolah arc, of course, being like a direct continuation of the Moro arc. So like for the first time in a very long time, we see an arc bleed into the next arc. And that's something that's really exciting for Dragon Ball fans. I mean, at least me personally, because that's something we don't see a whole lot, at least in Super. OG73, of course, he gets picked up by a few, aliens. And then those aliens are defeated by none other than Granolah. So we see a connection between OG73 and Granolah, and we assume that OG73 and Granolah are going to work together. Obviously OG73 now has like clones and shit, so our expectations are very high because of this dynamic between Granolah and OG73. Because Granolah is the titular character of this arc, we have really high hopes for Granolah as being either a villain or being, the hero of this arc and being the person who we kind of follow through. Now, Granolah takes OG73, because he is a bounty hunter after all. He takes him over to the Heaters. So we don't actually have very many expectations for the Heaters after all. I mean, their character designs, they kind of look like henchmen. They look like henchmen to someone else. So now we see this dynamic between OG73 with Granolah and now with the Heaters. So now we have three potential kind of maybe a main villain and two potential sub-villains. So anyway, the Heaters reveal that they have beef with none other than Frieza. Obviously Granolah also has beef with Frieza. So we see this triangle of beef with everyone just all around hating each other. So if OG73, if Granolah, and if the Heaters aren't going to be the villains, then Frieza's definitely going to be the villains. So I mean, look at that. I mean, we have 4 characters that are going to be involved in this story, based on how everything's progressing, who can offer just a lot of trouble for our heroes. I mean, OG73 is really powerful. We know that. Granolah, we know he's not very powerful, but obviously he gets that power boost from the Dragon Balls. And then the Heaters, they're very, unsuspecting. And I think that's one of like the main sort of strengths of the Heaters, is because oftentimes cunning characters are even scarier than just brute force characters, because we don't know what they're planning, we don't know what they're scheming. We later learn that the Heaters have beef with Granolah. They just want to get rid of Granolah, and they just want to test the powers of the Dragon Balls. So they get Granolah to kind of use him as a tool to test his powers and see whether or not Granolah can defeat Frieza. And in order to do that, in order to test their powers without directly engaging with Frieza, is by engaging with Goku and Vegeta. Now obviously Granolah kind of turns good, and I'm not saying that he was ever a villain, because he had a legitimate reason to hate the Saiyans, but Monaito helps Granolah come to terms with his past thanks to Bardock. I think it's fan service, but it's done correctly, because Bardock isn't just in a flashback or anything like that. Bardock is key to defeating obviously Gas. So again, there are so many really cool elements going on here. We're connecting, we're not just progressing forward in the story, progressing right where the Moro arc left off, but we're also going back to the lore, which is really important. Now, here's the issue. The issue is that all of what I just mentioned is really cool. The thing is, Frieza hasn't even showed up. Frieza was mentioned to be in this arc, but he hasn't showed up yet. OG73 hasn't done anything, and the arc is about to finish. And another thing is that we don't actually even have time to analyze all of these dynamics, because we've been through one of the longest continuous fights in all of Dragon Ball Super, if not the longest, excluding the Tournament of Power. I mean, Granolah has been fighting Goku and Vegeta for a long time. Obviously now he's fighting Gas, but it just has been one non-stop fight. And we haven't actually gotten a whole lot of plot elements. A lot of us are under the impression that we're past the climax of this arc, because now we're fighting like a guy who's even more powerful than the most fucking powerful guy, Gas. But again, there are so many unknowns. We don't know what condition Gas got his powers with. We don't know what 7-3 is doing. We don't know what his clones are doing. And what I potentially fear is that this arc is going to end a lot like the Tournament of Power did, where we had this really long, really cool arc conclude in one episode, right? That last episode of Dragon Ball Super was rushed to fuck, man. It just went by so fucking fast. I liked what happened in the ending, because story-wise, I think it was cool that 17 won and all that shit. But it was just rushed, and it wasn't satisfying. It didn't give you enough time to process everything. That's what my number one fear is here. I think it's cool that there's a really long fight, but ultimately, if you're just going to focus on the fight and then you're going to rush the ending and you're going to rush the loose ends, I think all of these things that could potentially pay off won't pay off. If you want to make a really good arc, you got to put enough time to develop the story and to conclude it properly, But anyway, guys, that's my opinion of the Granolah arc. I'm terrified of how it's going to end. What do you guys think? Do you guys think the Granolah arc is going to conclude in a satisfying fashion? Or do you think that it's just going to be another pile of shit? I would really like to know your guys' opinion. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see y'alls down the road.